Right. Last week, I took a look at some Republican voices that had some really horrible things to say about what's going on in the Gaza Strip.
Right.
And, a lot of people said, hey, well, a lot of these Democrats aren't much better on it. So I figured I would do something a little bit more about that and how, even progressive Democrats have failed us on this. And the Democratic Party in general has failed us on this. So let's first of all remind ourselves about the exact death toll going on right now. Right now we have the death toll has topped 11,000.
Right.
It's much higher than that, in fact, because I've read reports that there are 20, 25, 30,000 people buried under rubble, that their bodies have not been recovered. Probably people starving to death that are still alive under that rubble, slowly withering away. Stuff like that. So this death toll is going to go way up. When all's said and done, it's going to be a gigantic number, and a tremendous amount of women and children killed, tremendous amount of innocent men killed, tremendously low amount of actual Hamas killed. So this is a horrible thing that Israel is doing. This is so disproportionate a response to what happened to them. It is insane that anyone on any side of any political aisle would even attempt to justify what's going on. But of course, in this country, we unfortunately have the vast majority of people on both sides of the political aisle, at least as represented in our government, that are carry water for Israel, defend Israel to their dying breath. And we're going to take a look at some of those now. A lot of people have asked me, hey, where do you do your live streams? And the answer to that is that I do live streams called Abandon Hope every Sunday on the Pessimist Productions Patreon. That is linked down below. There is all sorts of other stuff on that Patreon as well. It is about $7 a month, and I think that we offer a pretty generous amount of content in exchange for that membership. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check out the Patreon link in the description section of this video. First of all, let's take a look at Israel's president, prime minister, whatever the fuck they have over there, talking about how it's all justified because they found a copy of Mein Kampf in the rubble.
Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people supporting by their demonstrations, supporting Hamas. I want to show you something.
Now, once again, anybody who doesn't want Israel to massacre civilians supports Hamas.
Yeah, you're basically supporting terrorism.
Yeah, of course, that's how it works. If you don't want a bunch of women and children and innocent men too, I don't want to. I don't want to say that men don't count or anything, but like I know that women
innocent
and children
people
really pulls at people's heartstrings more, unfortunately, in my opinion. But still, innocent people, young and old, male and female, being butchered by Israel right now.
You're anti-Semitic.
If you're against that, then you must be pro-terrorism. You must be pro-Hamas. Does that make sense? No, it does not.
Exclusive, Laura. So this is Adolf Hitler's book, translated to Arabic, Mein Kampf. It's the book that led to the Holocaust and the book that led to World War II. This is the book that led to his victory in elections.
It didn't. I mean, really, Mein Kampf didn't lead to any of that.
It didn't.
It was kind of. I mean, a lot of people thought it was a huge blunder for him to write that book. Generally speaking, it was not well read at the time. People in Germany didn't really even start reading it until after Hitler had already taken power. This was not like considered some great. This book was not what lit the movement on fire. It's a poorly written book. It's meandering.
Massive economic inequality, a greater appeal to a populist right-wing message in the upcoming Nazi Germany. Not the Nazi Party grew large enough where it could basically just seize power for itself.
And Hitler did that. Hitler did that with his speeches and with his like firebrand personality. No one gave a shit about this book.
Well, what Hitler did is he gave German people a common enemy. Basically, it's like,
exactly,
look, these
correct.
Jews.
His Screaming in Beer Halls did 100 times more than his dumb book. Yeah, the book was nothing.
The book was not what did it.
Germany, which led to the worst atrocity of humankind, which the British fought against. Well, this book was found just a few days ago.
It's a garbage book.
In Gaza.
Who cares?
Well, why
If
would the book have appealed to
How many
people in
fucking
Gaza?
American households have a copy of Mein Kampf in them?
Yeah,
Dude.
but also, why would that book have any appeal to anyone in these areas of the world? It's
Right,
what
exactly.
Israel. It's what Israel has done. You reap what you sow, and if they think that at the end of all of this occupation and slaughter that the Palestinian people are going to go like, well, now we love Israel. What a fucking farce, dude.
I mean, like, don't you think that like your bombing campaign is creating more hatred and antagonism towards you? Because
That'd be like asking the
it
Jews.
is.
That'd be like asking the Jews who were butchered in the Holocaust if to love the Nazi Party. Hey, do you guys love Nazis now that we stopped them? No, fuck them. I want them dead. That's what they would fucking feel.
Living room, which was turned into a military operation base of Hamas, on the body of one of the terrorists and murderers of Hamas, and he even marked. He wrote notes. He marked and learned again and again.
What
Adolf Hitler's ideology.
We saw it. Why did the Nazi Party rise? There was massive economic inequality. Like there was a Great Depression. People were jobless. People were hopeless. People fell into fucking despair. They had nothing. The Gaza Strip's one of the poorest, most economically depressed places in the fucking world. It's 2 million people crammed to a tiny fucking strip of land. They have very limited economic opportunities, if any. That's where these messages take hold. And then when you have a repressive authoritarian regime that kills them, I just don't know what you would expect.
That book is in perfect condition. They're claiming they found on the body of someone they bombed. Yes, they are.
This is propaganda. 100%.
It's pure propaganda. And even if it was true, I don't give a shit. There are plenty of American households that have Mein Kampf in them. That doesn't mean that anyone who has it is like automatically going to go.
There's
like,
probably
bomb the
houses
Jews.
in Israel that have Mein Kampf in it.
Plenty of people have read Mein Kampf just because they're curious. It's like, hey, the most evil guy in history wrote a book.
That's why most people read it. It's not well written. It's not an interesting book. It sucks, to be honest with you.
I mean, I've tried to read it before. It's a garbage book. It sucks balls. It's really badly written.
Dude, that book would not convince me to be a Nazi in a million fucking years. It's the most boring read. It convinced me of the opposite. It's like the Nazis suck and they're boring. I want nothing to do with them.
It's trash. So like I'm not saying who gives a shit. Obviously, like it's bad that people are reading Mein Kampf and like agreeing with it or whatever the fuck. But like,
it's horrible.
Like, like Scotty said, like you created the conditions where that was like an appealing thing. Like, hey, here's a book, here's a giant screed written against the people who have fucking like bombed the shit out of us and killed a bunch of us.
Were free to travel, free to live. They weren't oppressed. They weren't being killed. They had better economic conditions. They had access to food and water and housing. All the things, basic needs were being met. I don't think you would find much appeal for these far right or these extremist terrorist messages of any kind. But when you restrict that, you restrict the ability to have freedom. If anything seems like it's going to give me that freedom or going to change my life for the better, that message is going to have appeal. It does not matter what form it takes. And that's why this is disingenuous.
Of hating the Jews, of killing the Jews, of burning the Jews, of slaughtering.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be done either.
This is the real warrior act. So all those who demonstrated yesterday, I'm not saying that all of them support Hitler, but all I'm saying
yes.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that. Shut up. You fucking suck. Eat dick.
God, what a fucking
all right.
turd. I'm gonna go
on to these spineless democratic Israel apologists. This is Fetterman, I believe.
Boo! Boo!
What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Yes!
Shame! Shame!
What is genocide? What is genocide? What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want
You do a
it?
disservice to Pennsylvania.
So as you can see here, there's some demonstrators being arrested. These demonstrators are actually veterans. These are veterans that are protesting the the genocide, or if you don't like the term genocide, you think it doesn't quite apply, the mass killing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, ethnic cleansing. Doesn't really matter what you call it. It's horrible, whatever name you want to put to it. These people are there protesting it. Fetterman, who, you know, claimed at one point to be like this very pro-military guy, loves the veterans, and, you know, is very progressive. Now we knew when Fetterman was elected, you know, one of the things we knew about Fetterman was that he is an Israel simp. I remember that being discussed at the time. We knew Fetterman was a hardcore Israel simp, but I got to admit, I'm kind of surprised to see just how far he's willing to go with it. Even as the numbers come out, even as we know that there are, you know, innocent people losing their lives right now due to Israel's actions. And here you have these veterans, American veterans, the people that Fetterman claims to care about the most, out there protesting what's going on in Gaza. And Fetterman is laughing at them, and Fetterman is waving a little Israeli flag around. You know, this is an American politician laughing at American veterans as they're being arrested for practicing, you know, free speech. He's laughing at them and waving the flag of a foreign nation. What more needs to be said? The guy is a fucking prick. This is Senator Fetterman avoids veteran when asked that he call for a ceasefire. So let's see how this goes for this lady. The volume is very low. You're gonna have to read the over 10,000 people. It's 11,000 now. And let's see what he says. You're just gonna ignore my question right before Veterans Day.
You don't have an answer.
You don't have an answer for why you won't call for a ceasefire in one of the most serious civilian massacres of our lifetimes.
As a senator?
As a senator. He says he doesn't know. I think you should be protesting Hamas. Why don't you do that and do protesting until you get the hostages back? That's my opinion. I respect your opinion.
Right, except for I deployed to the war in Afghanistan where we said the same logic about the Taliban. And my government isn't funding Hamas, but my government is funding the bombs that are killing.
Yeah, she's saying that the government, I know you guys, some of you guys can read this. Some of you might not be able to because it might be too small on your screen or whatever. She's making the case that, you know, the government, her government, the U.S. government is not funding Hamas. So she doesn't have any moral responsibility to protest Hamas. Our government is funding Israel, which at this point has killed far more people than Hamas killed in their attack. Far more innocent people. I mean, 1,200 Israelis were killed. It was 1,400. They've actually reduced the total to 12. 1,200 Israelis were killed by Hamas. Obviously a tragedy. Obviously no one likes that. Or if someone does like that, fuck them. They're a monster. But does the murder of 1,200 Israelis justify the murder of 11,000 and counting Palestinians? Absolutely goddamn not. Absolutely not. That's insane, psychotic logic.
Civilians in Gaza every day. Well, I'm an American citizen, so I'm protesting what my government is doing, and you make decisions for my government.
Very good then.
Very good then.
10,000 people have been killed, that 4,000 children have been killed. Yeah. That's okay with you?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Okay.
He just said okay. She's like, yeah, you don't care that 10,000 people have been killed and 4,000 children have been killed, and you just like, okay. Okay.
I guess we have our answer.
TJ, racist Zionist conspiracies aside, why does the U.S. commit so much aid in supporting Israel? Is it just an ally in the region? Doesn't the USA already have that with the Saudis? We have an alliance with the Saudis, but the Saudis are not our puppets. Israel are our puppets. Why do you think we've provided Israel with a nuclear arsenal? We don't do that for most countries. And why do you think we provide? I mean, like the amount of weapons and stuff we provided them, the amount of commitment we have made to their defense and their infrastructure, it's because Israel is basically a vassal state to the United States of America. Israel is, we prop them up because they represent a show of our force in that region. The Saudis, they might be our allies, but they're not going to do our dirty work. Israel, if push comes to shove, will do our dirty work. So when Israel says we want to do this big ethnic cleansing, you know, we're not necessarily going to stand in their way because we don't want to, you know, we don't want to jeopardize. We don't want to sour those relations because we like their power. Because their power represents our power. They are basically a continuation of, you know, U.S. supremacy. So that's the main reason why we defend them. Now, it also can't be discounted that a solid 20% or so of this country are evangelical Christians who believe that the Jews being in the Holy Land is one of the prerequisites for the events of the book of Revelations to happen. So there's also this weird, insane religious cult element to all of this. Basically, radical Christians, Christian fundamentalists, want Israelis to occupy that land because they believe that that is a prerequisite for some prophecies in their weird little book of scary things. So, I mean, it's insane. It's mostly the former thing. It's mostly the geopolitical reasons, but don't discount the insane, batshit crazy religious reasons either. Very insane, very crazy, very not rational, but that's America for you. So here is Biden talking about the prospect of a ceasefire. You see this clip is only 4 seconds long because that's all it needs to be.
What are the chances of a Gaza ceasefire? No possibility.
There you go. None. No possibility. No Gaza ceasefire. 0% chance. Don't count on it. Don't set your watch by it. Don't hold your fucking breath, Jack. Here is a Palestinian woman accosting Senator Elizabeth Warren as she eats at some, you know, hipster gastropub kind of restaurant.
Can I bring you some water to get started? Of course, we have tap water. We also have butter.
It's another one of these where it's kind of hard to hear stuff, but she says, I'm a refugee from Gaza and I am a constituent of yours. 68 members of my family were killed over the last 3 weeks, and I just want to know how many more have to die before you're going to call a ceasefire. I don't know what more you want me to tell you. I mean, what do I have to do? How many more of my family have to die for you to call it for a ceasefire? I just don't know how much more do I have to say for you to call for a ceasefire. People are calling your office every day asking for a ceasefire, and you're refusing to call for a ceasefire.
You are refusing to call for a ceasefire.
I don't think this is the proper place.
I think it's the proper place for this. Thank you. So if you want to call Senator Elizabeth Warren and tell her to call for a ceasefire, you can feel free to waste your breath at 202-224-4534.
Not even really an extreme position. I mean, only in the U.S. is saying
Don't even
like
call for it. There's no chance of it even fucking happening, but she won't
yeah,
even
just
call
calling
for it.
Yeah, not even just you won't call for it, but going even further than that. I mean, saying like people shouldn't be killed. That's basically like a ceasefire. Like let's stop and like try to figure things out. It's like no, gotta keep killing, keep the killing going. When can we stop? When we've only killed enough.
This is a bunch of people out outside of a I think it's a restaurant, but it might be, I don't know if it's Elizabeth Warren's residence or if it's a restaurant she's at or where it is. But there's a lot of people out there, I think about 50 people protesting her, trying to get her to call for a ceasefire. Here they are.
Sadly for them, they don't pay as much.
What's that, Scotty?
I said sadly for them, they don't pay as much. The progressive senator from Massachusetts.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
I think she's actually in that car.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Poor Elizabeth Warren. She has to hear her constituents disagree with her horrible policies.
Yeah, it sucks when you're just trying to support a genocide and the American people take issue with it like a bunch of pussies.
Dude,
So
who hasn't
sad.
been there, TJ? You know, like, look, some genocide's going on, whatever. Can I go to dinner now?
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
To emphasize the importance of America's say-so, Reagan stopped an Israeli bombing campaign in 20 minutes of saying stop. Yeah, Joe Biden, I want it known. I'm not even going to put this forth. I think this needs to be a bigger issue than this vote blue no matter who or whatever the fuck shit. So I'm not even going to bring that into it. But just so you know, Joe Biden could stop this like that. If Joe Biden said, knock it off, Jack, they would. Because they're that fucking reliant on us.
Oh, yeah.
It's in Israel. Like, we prop up the state of Israel. The state of Israel does not exist without U.S. support. It just fucking doesn't. So if Joe Biden said, knock it off, stop killing people, they would have no choice but to listen to him.
100%.
He has the power to stop this. He does not exercise it.
They don't want to. They don't want to stop. If they wanted to, I mean, like, look, if truly they wanted, if the U.S. government and the major world powers wanted to stop, Israel's not a huge nation. They could stop Israel tomorrow. They could stop Israel right now. They could say, look, you know, we're not going to support you. We're going to sanction you. We're going to do everything in our power to take away your ability to even run a war. Israel's not just going to go, nah, fuck you guys. We'll keep going.
Princeton did a study that proves America is an oligarchy. More than 90% of people want something, and it has less than a 10% chance of happening.
I respond to you, Garble, by saying that high. 10%? That seems kind of high. I'm actually shocked by that.
It said less than a 10% chance of happening.
Okay, yeah, it's like 9% or something. Okay, like, well, maybe. I have meaningfully, if I try to think of like economic or social or any policies, the last policy I can say I really was like impressed that the U.S. government implemented was gay marriage, when that was done through a legal precedent, not actually legislation. I mean, now legislation, finally, years later.
Nikki wants to know what percentage of Americans want a ceasefire. But this is not super recent, so maybe this has changed. This is the most recent one I can find. This is from after the bombing started, so
fairly recent.
October 20th, so it's not super recent. It's about 22 days old, so this very well could have changed, but here's what the picture looked like as of then. Voters across party lines agree the U.S. should call for a ceasefire and de-escalation of violence in Gaza. The U.S. should call for a ceasefire and de-escalation of violence in Gaza. The U.S. should leverage its close diplomatic relationship with Israel to prevent further violence and civilian deaths. So this state, you can strongly agree, somewhat agree, not know, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. All voters, 30% strongly agree, 36% somewhat agree, 10% don't know, 13% somewhat disagree, and 12% strongly disagree. Among Democrats, it's 40% strongly agree, 40% somewhat agree, 8% don't know, 9% somewhat disagree, and some minute fraction strongly disagree. Among independents and third party, 26% strongly disagree, 31% somewhat disagree, 13% don't know, 16% somewhat disagree, and 15% strongly disagree. Among Republicans, 21% strongly agree, 35% somewhat agree, 10% don't know, 15% somewhat agree, and 19% strongly disagree.
So pretty
these
much
numbers
every
could have
group,
shifted a little bit
majority.
since then, I don't know. They could have changed. This picture could have changed, but as of October 20th, this is how the American people were feeling about this.
The majority of Americans
broad
agree.
bipartisan support for a ceasefire. Broad bipartisan support for the idea that the United States should use its political capital to force Israel, or at least strongly suggest to Israel, a ceasefire. So this is not an unpopular position to take. So anybody who tries to convince you that this is, I mean, like, so by that metric, by the way, does that mean the majority of Americans support Hamas in the eyes of the rhetoric that's been spewed on this issue?
Yes.
Guess so.
You'd have to say yes. I mean, Elizabeth Warren represents a primarily Democratic state, so the majority of her constituents do not agree with her stance, and she's not representative of their stance. Only a minority, of vastly, probably small minority.
Jake Tapper is surprisingly as critical of civilian deaths. I mean,
He should be.
you'll never, I mean, I'm not surprised when anyone has a conscience about this. I don't have to like Jake Tapper. I mean, Pierce Morgan's been doing some good shit on this, honestly.
Dude,
Like,
if
someone
Jordan
if someone is
Peterson came out and said that it was wrong, I'm not going to be like, well, actually, it's right because he said it. You know, it's
Right.
like, I don't give a fuck who says it. If I agree with them, I agree with them.
all that makes me feel is a sense of relief that Jake Tapper is not a total piece of shit and can look at people being murdered and say that's wrong. What I'm surprised by is when people just don't give a shit, like Fetterman, like Elizabeth Warren, like Joe Biden. People are just totally ice cold, doesn't stir their feelings at all. They're just completely fine with it. Hamas is the bad guy, completely and utterly. Israel's done nothing wrong. They're saints. No matter how many innocent people they murder, it's fine because they got to get Hamas, the ultimate evil in the world, apparently. So here is a little, this has nothing to do with any sort of politician or powerful figure. This is just a little incident that happened at a, I think an Apple store or, yeah, this is the Apple store. This is,
So what's it say?
An employee decided to fly or wear a Palestinian flag and someone doesn't like it. So let's see what happens there.
Too bad.
And you have a terrorist over here that's supporting fucking Palestine. Okay, you enjoy? Yes, where is the manager, please?
I'm one of the managers.
Oh, so why she's wearing this flag?
What was that?
Why she's wearing this flag?
Yeah.
You know what is advising?
Yeah, so
It's advising behaving babies. You know what they did? You know what they did? These guys?
we can go
Just-
ahead and ask you to go ahead and
Why?
leave. Call security.
Why?
We don't need you to go ahead and harass.
But why? I'm not harassing nobody.
Yeah, you are.
How are you not, dipshit?
Look, you have every
what I
right
would
to
guess.
believe whatever you want. Now, this guy in the store can say he can totally have this position. He can totally have this belief. That's fine. Just like they can have the inverse belief. They can think Hamas is great. They can think whatever they want. And by the way, they don't.
This
All
is in
they-
California.
All they're doing is merely expressing solidarity with people who are being killed viciously overseas.
I mean, there's a good chance that she might fucking have Palestinian heritage and she's fucking flying the flag because, like, that's her heritage and that's where she's from. And people do that. I mean, personally, I think it's stupid. I don't really give a shit about my heritage. I would never fly the flag of fucking. I might fly the American flag because I actually fucking live here. Maybe. But I would never fly the flag of some like nation I was like had some ancestry from. Like, ooh, it's the French and Scottish. Like, who gives a shit? But whatever. That's besides the point. The point is that she has the right to fucking fly that flag if she wants to, wear that fucking shit on her lapel, whatever the fuck she wants to do.
No, I'm not. Why you say that? Why you say that? Yes.
How can we help you outside? Yeah.
This is my ID.
Are you picking
Okay.
up things you don't need?
And pick up. And this is my credit card. And I'm asking you very gently,
Yeah, look.
why did you let her wear this flag?
Yeah, look at.
Is she supporting Hamas?
No.
She's not supporting Hamas. So why is she putting this flag? Because Hamas control this
It's none of your
flag.
business.
No?
Because you're a customer of a store, you have the right to know the political leanings and who they support. You have no right. What? That's asinine, dude. That's insane. That's like going and see to you in public and saying, "Hey, are you Jewish? Why are you flying the Israeli flag? Do you support murdering innocent women and children? Why? It's like, which I think are valid questions, but if you're not there to have a political debate or discussion, it's just not appropriate to accost someone.
Yeah, it's
And
the
demand
Apple
they
store,
get-
dude. Get out of here. If you don't like it,
Yeah.
just fucking suck it up or leave.
Yeah, there's an appropriate venue. Like, if you want to go debate somebody that's interested in having that debate with you, then you can. But just because someone has a little flag of another country is not a big deal. You should just not even be bothered by it.
No, I wanna see why.
Looks like we're
Because
disturbing.
these guys fucking beheaded our babies.
Okay, so we can go
Huh?
ahead and ask you to leave. We can ask.
Yeah, that was actually proven to be false, but whatever.
It's never happened, so you fucking moron.
All
Yeah.
Yeah, when I need to leave. Bye.
Never happened. Huh? Why you say it's never happened? Did you see it? It's my family. You
Your
piece of
family? That's what happened? Your family had the babies beheaded?
shit.
So we can go ahead and ask you to.
Yeah, okay.
We can go ahead and
Good for
ask you
you,
to
buddy.
leave. Yeah, just get the fuck out of there, dude. Just ban this idiot from every Apple store in America, internationally too. Let him go fucking look. Android needs more users, man. You know, like, look, dude, Android is for you. You know what? Mac is overpriced. Everything Apple is a ripoff. Save yourself some money. Go somewhere else.